would like to call this meeting to order, and I want to welcome all our guests here for this January edition of the Lee County Board of Education. We have several special guests I want to introduce. Laurie Salafia from the military is here. Do you have a report for us? Great. It's always good to have you here. Please join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you, and now please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do not have any public commenters this evening, so I will proceed with the Lee County Missions and Ethics Statement. The mission of the Lee County Schools is to teach each student the social and academic skills needed to become a responsible and productive citizen. And I'd now like to share the code of ethics that guides the behavior of this board. Remember, the board accepts the code of ethics established by the North Carolina School Board Association. In accordance with this code, each member of the board shall commit to the following. Remember, a board member's first and greatest concern must be the educational welfare of the students attending the public schools. We must work with other board members to establish effective board policies and to delegate authority for the administration of the schools to the superintendent. We must support the employment of those persons best qualified to serve as school staff and insist on a regular and impartial evaluation of all staff. We must be familiar with state school laws, policies, and regulations of the State Board of Education and Department of Public Instruction and current Lee County Board policies, rules, and regulations. We must endeavor to make policy decisions only after full discussion at publicly held meetings and board meetings. We must attend all regularly scheduled board meetings insofar as possible and become informed concerning the issues to be considered at these meetings. We must encourage the free expression of opinion by all board members and seek systematic communication between the board, students, staff, and all elements of the community. We must communicate to other board members and the superintendent expressions of public reaction to board policies and school programs. We must devote his or her best efforts in participating in student appeal hearings and may be required from time to time. We must comply with the North Carolina General Statutes 115C-50 by earning the required 12 hours of training annually. And we must learn about current educational issues by individual study and through participation in programs providing needed information, such as those sponsored by the State and National School Boards Association. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
And is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion carries. The agenda is approved. Is there a motion to approve the minutes for December 8th and January the 5th?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes from December 8, 2015 and January 5th, 2016.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The minutes are approved. And we can next proceed with the chairman's report. And if you'll excuse me just a second. This was supposed to be the superintendent's surprise. And Ben didn't come from the University of Virginia. He's not real happy, but it's something I wanted to hang up, and we're going to have staff do that if you would. And it's a plaque from Dean Smith, and he says, play hard, play smart, and play together. And that goes for Brad Wicker's soccer team, and it goes for this Board of Education. And if the board has no objection, I'll have this hung behind our
Even if it is Carolina blue?
Well,
I register my unofficial objection to the Carolina blue. It's a lovely gift. Not the sentiment, just the color.
well, we could have a debate here, but let's
Absolutely.
don't
I'm
do
a
that
little
tonight.
outnumbered over here.
And I would like to congratulate Dr. Davis on a new grandbaby. Was born in Atlanta last week, and we're glad you're back, and we're glad everybody's happy. Don't know a name. We need a name.
Her name is Margaret Louise.
Margaret, please. Well, I'm glad that everybody's well and happy. And I would like to comment just briefly on something that I attended last week, and Mrs. Brogan went with me. We were down at Broadway School, and we participated in a program put on by Windley Motley Bryant. And I was really impressed. I'll let Tamara add to my comments. The students, the fifth grade students apparently at Broadway, designed clothes that they would like to wear. And the students at Lee County High School made those clothes as they were designed. And then the students at Broadway modeled those clothes for all of us who were there. The Eastleigh Band played. The culinary program at Lee County High School provided food for reception. It was a really, really nice occasion. And if you see Wendy, please comment on her evening. She did just a super job, and it was just fun to be a part of it. And that's the chairman's report. We can now proceed with the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Start off tonight with the Superintendent's Extra Effort Award. First one is for last month. Our awardee could not be here last month, but the recipient from last month that we'd like to recognize tonight was and is the coach of Lee County High School boys soccer team. And he led our team to the state finals here in the fall, and I thought did an outstanding job. Part of the recognition for his Extra Effort Award is certainly for that leadership for his team. The other part of that, though, is, and this is what a lot of people probably don't know outside the soccer circle at Lee County High School, is he actually coached both teams. He coached the varsity team and the JV team when we had trouble finding somebody to coach the JV team. So he stepped up and did that. And the final part of that, I think, is what he did to sort of resurrect the soccer program at Lee County High School, to build it from sort of the ground up and provide sort of the enthusiasm and belief and vision that they would be a great team. And he has done a great job in building that. I'd like to ask Coach Brad Wicker to come forward to be recognized by the board.
Get to or have to, one of the two.
I'd say thank you for everybody for the award. It was more the kids' effort than mine. They're the ones who put the time in, put the effort in. I just told them what time practice was. As a coach, that's all I can ask, is that they show up every day and do what they're supposed to do. And that's what's rebuilding this program, is the fact that they're willing to show up every single day. Whether it's a 6 o'clock in the morning practice or an afternoon practice from 3 to 5 or 6. They put in the effort every single day, and that's what got us to the state championship. I didn't do anything
great part about recognizing, having recognized someone from last month is now we get this month, so we get to do 2 tonight. The other extra effort award, last week there was a car accident out near Greenwood that had the power go off near Greenwood Elementary School. And that happened in the afternoon, probably about 2 o'clock. And if you remember correctly, last week, sort of like today, just a really cold day, really chilly. And so obviously when electricity goes out, you know, as everybody knows, we want the electricity to come on now. But because of sort of the damage that had been done, this wasn't your normal sort of outage for things. So what turned into everyone saying that we'd probably have electricity back on Greenwood Elementary School by 6:30 that evening, which didn't affect school activities that day, turned into actually needing to bring a transformer from Raleigh to Greenwood Elementary about midnight that night. So you can imagine trying to coordinate things with Duke Energy and our maintenance crew, not just to get the transformer in and get it installed in a timely manner in the middle of the night when it's about 20 degrees outside, but also making sure that school is ready for the next day so we can have school, not knowing if everything's going to work correctly. So we had a very dedicated crew from Duke Power Energy come and get the transformer, install it, and installed it by about 3 a.m. that morning in really difficult conditions. And then members of our maintenance crew who were out there to oversee it and then make sure the heat started up and all the things needed to get going in time for school to start for our cafeteria workers who come in at 6 a.m. that morning. So tonight I'd like to recognize the people who were responsible for making sure that happened on time so that our building would be ready to open for school the next day. And it gives me great pleasure. And I'm going to have everybody come forward, and then I'm going to hand out the plaques, and we'll get our picture taken. Recognize a few people. A couple people couldn't be here tonight. Mr. Barrett Kelly, who works with Duke Energy, and Kyle Rui, who were part of that crew. But I'd also like to ask Mr. Edwin Norris and Mr. Paul Garner to come forward, please. They were part of that crew that worked several hours in trying to get everything taken care of that night at Greenwood. And then I'd like to recognize a couple of our own folks who were out there the entire night. Jerry Pittman, Director of Maintenance, and Chris McNeil, Assistant Director of Maintenance for us, who were out there. And then sort of once the electricity came back on about 3 a.m., they were there to make sure everything was up and running with the heating computer system and lights going and everything that comes back on. We'd also like to recognize Mark Spivey, who's supervisor of this meeting. Mark was very instrumental in sort of coordinating some logistics on all this. And Clay and Colton Moretz from Moretz Electrical, who sort of helped set the transformer in place, and Jerry Beatty with Duke Energy of Southern Pines, who all sort of played a role in this whole deal. And I know they would say, I think I know these guys well enough, a lot of them, where they say, well, we're just doing our job. Well, they really went beyond doing their job and the extra effort they put in place to make sure we had school the next day. So we'd just like to really recognize them and thank them for everything that they've done. The two other items on the agenda tonight, just to talk about the accountability update that we've done each month. Our high school testing started this week, so we are sort of right in the middle of all that at the high school level. And logistically, things are going pretty smoothly. You start testing folks and doing it on computers, which is what the state asks us to do, and it's gone pretty well. Our benchmark dates for the elementary, middle, and high schools have been set for the for second semester. So if we can keep our calendar intact and move forward without any weather issues, then I think hopefully we'll be good to go with that. One of the previous meetings, I can't remember if it was the last time or not, we talked about some ACT prep courses and classes we're doing. We're doing that twofold, but we started that training this week for our sort of a train-the-trainer model for the people who are going to be leading that, either doing it in class and providing support for teachers as well for some of the things associated with ACT preparation. And we're also going to be doing what we're calling a boot camp for all the juniors involved who take the test on March 1. That will be occurring within the school day. So that will be available for all juniors in the school district. Our after-school tutoring program has started up at the middle schools, and we've had a great response to that for a number of students who are attending. And everything is going at the middle school level in relation to that. So we're really excited about the attendance. We're providing transportation for students, and it's going really well so far. And the elementary schools are putting all their plans in motion now for January to get up and going for the elementary schools. So we're on target with our logistics as far as what we're trying to do to support students. And we'll have more at the next board meeting. The other thing I'd like to mention is last week our NAF Academy courses, as many of you know, we have career academies that are 3 traditional schools, engineering, hospitality and tourism, and finance. And those students all do culminating projects in those classes that they have. And what that means is that those students come in at the end of the semester with the block schedule. They come in at the end of the semester and they actually present a project that they've been working on throughout the semester. And we have people who actually judge the content of their presentation, the content of their project that they've done that's associated with the Career Academy, and also their presentation skills. And I have to tell you, I sat in on probably 4 or 5 different rooms where that was happening. We did it over at the Civic Center, at the Physical Ed Center over at CCCC. And they did a great job with not only the presentation skills, but from presenting some engineering projects on magnetic trains and solar panels and all kinds of different things to actually in our hospitality and tourism actually putting together a marketing campaign for a local business to finance projects about solving sort of a problem in the finance sector for a business. They did a great job, and you've been really proud. And actually, Dr. Smith actually tagged along for the afternoon session with me for a few of them, and thought it went really well. Any thoughts and comments on that?
And not only did the students excel, whoever picked the projects was a genius. He asked a couple of the students to design a snowboard. Now, what teenage boy wouldn't want to design a snowboard? And they really did a great job. They researched materials. They actually built a snowboard, and they actually put out a brochure as if they were going to sell this instrument. They picked something that the students could really get into. It was a really neat experience to watch these students perform.
That concludes my report, Dr. Smith.
Dr. Bryan, I have a couple questions on what you just talked about. For the middle school, the after-school tutoring that's going on, you said it's high attendance. How long is that set to go on? Is there a end date for that, or is it
It's
just
through the end of May?
end of May? Okay, so it's the whole rest of the year. And
Yeah.
you said that the elementary, they're getting ready to do the same thing on elementary.
Be the same time frame.
Okay, do you have any idea when that's gonna get going for the elementary level?
This month.
This month? Okay, so January.
And it varies a little bit by school.
Right,
Just
right.
because, like, San Lee had their tutoring going up the week before our holiday Christmas break.
Mhm.
And then East and West had theirs going the week we came back last week. So it varies a little bit depending upon some transportation things and logistics, but it's been very well attended.
Good, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Any further questions? Let's continue with committee reports. Curriculum instruction, Mrs. Brogan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did not have any curriculum instruction committee meetings since beginning of December because of Christmas break, but we're getting back into it starting tomorrow. We have our middle school C&I meeting at East Lee, and then on January 20th, we have our elementary curriculum instruction meeting at Greenwood, and February 3rd will be our next high school curriculum instruction meeting, and that'll be here at Lee County High School. And all of those meetings start at 3:30. So for our next meeting, I'll have a bigger report.
Thank you. Facilities and technology, Mr. Sharp.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to defer to Ms. Brogan since I was unable to be there, and thank you for showing up for me that day.
All right, thank you. And for Facilities and Technology Committee, we met on December 17th. And there's a few things on the consent agenda tonight from that meeting. One of them is a request to terminate contract with U.S. Foods and award a contract to Cisco Foods. And it was the consensus of the committee after hearing all the information about it to go ahead and move forward with that change. And that's on our consent agenda tonight. And also, we looked at the 2016, 2017 through 2020, 2021 capital improvements program. And we went through it very carefully, and it was the consensus of the committee to go ahead and move forward with that, and that is on the consent agenda tonight as well. We also talked about some work that needs done at Greenwood Elementary School for sewer improvements, and we talked about moving forward with that. And we're getting ready to take bids on that project, and so that's going to be a continuing issue, and we'll discuss that again at the committee. And also we talked about some donations and contributions that were given from Pfizer that I know about, and I shared that with the committee. And also, we talked about facility use application, and we talked about some information about that. So that's everything we covered in the meeting that day.
Thank you, Mrs. Brogan. Let's continue with the Finance Committee, Mr. Akinosho.
Mr. Chairman, we didn't have any meeting during the month of December, but we'll be having one January 28th.
Thank you. Policy, Mrs. Bowen.
The policy committee met on 15 December and went through some, I think a grand total of about 38 policies, of which we have 35 on for first reading this month. There's been a couple of these policies that we have looked at and reviewed and will be still reviewing. So our upcoming policy meeting is January 19th at 5 p.m. at the board central office. And some of those policies are coming back before us again to get a final review. So please, if there's anybody that has any comments on those before we meet, take a look at them and give feedback.
Thank you, Mrs. Bowen. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the consent agenda as presented.
And is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any comment on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion carries. The consent agenda is approved as presented. Being no unfinished business, we can proceed with new business. The first concerns board policies, and Mrs. Bowen, if you would like to present those policies, please.
Yes, Dr. Smith, we have a series of policies. So I move that the Lee County Board of Education approve the first reading of the following policies. Policy 1010, 1100, 1200, 1510/4200/7270, 1720/4015/7225, 2120, 2121, 2123, 2300, 2320, 2341, 2400, 3000, 3430, 3540, 4000, 4270, 4700, 5000, 5070/7350, 5071/7351, 6000, 6420/8720, 6421, 6430/8730, 7100, 7405, 7810, 7920, 8000, 8100, 8510, 9000, 9120, and 9220 for first reading.
Is there a second to that motion? Second. It's been moved and seconded. I think it should be noted that this is on first reading, and we will be approving these board policy changes for second reading at our February meeting. So, having said that, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The list of policies is approved on first reading. The next item under new business is the Lee Early College and Tramway School calendars. We have Mr. Dietrich, Mrs. Spence to answer questions on these calendars. If anybody has any questions before we make the motion.
Good evening. As we brought to you last month, we brought the regular school calendar for the traditional school year as typically follows. The Lee Early College, which is mastered after the community college schedule, and the Tramway calendar follows right behind the traditional calendars, and they all follow the rules and guidelines that are given, and we present those to you today.
Are there any questions for Mr. Dietrich or Mrs. Spence?
No, look good to me. Everything looked common sense, so, yeah, looks good. I do appreciate all the hard work that everyone puts into that. No, it's not easy, so I do appreciate that, so thank you for that.
That is a committee effort to be
Mm-hmm.
discussed.
It's a lot of
A
people.
lot of conversations that go into it to make sure that all stakeholders are involved.
Right, right.
So they do a wonderful job drafting all this together. And you can't forget Donna, who really puts that first draft together. She does an outstanding job making sure all that's put together before it ever goes to committee. So I definitely want to thank her.
Well, thank you.
We have, these are listed as two separate motions. Do we need to approve these separately? We can do it in one motion? In that case, is there a motion to approve the calendars as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Lee County Board of Education approve the 2016-17 Tramway year-round calendar and the Lee Early College calendar.
And is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion carries. The calendars are approved as presented. And Mr. Akanosho, if you would make a motion, we can proceed with the closed session portion of our meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that Lee County Board of Education go into closed session for the purpose of discussing information that is privileged, confidential, or not a public record under NCGS section 143, 318, 11A, and 1.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion concerning our closed session portion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We can now adjourn for a closed session portion of our meeting. Thank you.
Carry mine with me. She's too quick to punch.
She's quick. He cleaned up my water and I wasn't finished with it, so I'm gonna have to take it with me.
We're back in open session, please. And under new business continuation, is there a motion to approve the Human Resources Report as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the Human Resources Report as presented.
And is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion carries. The Human Resources Report is approved. And is there a motion for adjournment?
I make a
Motion.
motion, go ahead.
I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned.